Very good morning, everyone. Welcome back to today's lecture on international business economics. We are dealing with and we are starting with the fifth chapter, and let's look at it in today the various functions of the macroeconomics and the microeconomics. We have in the earlier
Sir?
lecture we have seen. Yes.
प्रेझेंटेशन दिसत नाही सर.
प्रेझेंट तर केलेलं आहे.
नाही सर,
तुमच्या
काहीच
एंडला
नाही.
ओपन करा.
ब्लँक आलंय.
मला तर विजिबल आहे इकडे. इंटरनॅशनल बिझनेस इकॉनॉमिक्स 5.4 बघा तुम्हाला ओपन करता येत आहे का?
सगळं ब्लँक दिसतंय सध्याला तरी.
शेअर पॉवर पॉइंट. आता परत कॅन्सल करून परत केलं. नाही
दिसत.
Now is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have started sharing my on the back camera. Okay, very good morning, everyone. We have started with the lecture on international business economics, and in the earlier lecture, we have seen and understood about what is international banking, why the international banking is essential or important, and the concept of various reserves, debts, and risk with respect to the microeconomics and macroeconomic perspectives. Now today, as on this particular lecture, we'll be understanding why the money acts as a function and what are the functions of money in an economy. The first function that you can see is it acts as a medium of exchange and a deferred of payment perspective. So the money is acting as a payment, as a part of an exchange wherein you can act or you can treat this particular money as a certain medium or a certain mode for exchanging the goods and services. So if you want to purchase anything, if you want to sell anything, so at this particular point of time, the money acts as a medium for you and you can exchange the goods and services. Difference of payment, so it acts as a medium or a mode wherein if you want to make a certain terms of payments also. So while importing and exporting, in this today's scenario, it is of a very essential importance that you need a certain sum of money with you and you have to take into consideration as a terms of payments in terms of the certain denomination. So whenever this particular denomination comes into picture, you need to make a certain payment to the certain party, and at this particular point of time, the money is into existence. As a store of value, money acts as a store of value because you can save this particular money, you can store this particular money at a certain point of time, and whenever it is been required, you can use or utilize this particular money. Now, for example, as on today, when you have started your business and you have taken a loan from a respective bank, now whenever this particular loan from a bank has been taken, what happens? The bank gives you a loan of rupees, for example, 10 lakhs of rupees. Now, these 10 lakh of rupees, you do not use it at a one go and at one point of time. So what you do, step by step, at a certain situation or a certain origin, you start using this sum of money. So what happens? You can store this particular money in your respective either the current account or saving account, and as and when it has been required, the money can be used. So whatever the payment that you want to make, so the payment is in terms of installment or in terms of the different receipts that you get for a particular receipt of 50,000, another receipt of 1 lakh, another receipt of 1,50,000, another receipt of 5 lakhs, and so on. So as and when the particular time comes, you keeps on paying a certain sum of money, and unless the payment is not due, you can store that particular value or you can store that particular money which is available with you. As a unit of account, yes, the money can be stored as a particular unit of account, and it acts as a function that it can be kept at a certain reserve position, that is in a particular term of account, that is either in a fixed deposit account, either in a current account, saving account, deferred account, and so on, or a recurring account. So there are different types of accounts also wherein you can store this particular sum of money and it can be used whenever it has been required and whenever it has been of a need. Now, various pros and cons with related to money, which is acting as a function in a necessary or in your economic perspective in imports and exports. So it is a very good store of value. So yes, properly you can store your respective money as and when it is been required. So if you are getting a certain sum of money in the Indian bank, then you can save this particular money or store this money in terms of the rupee currency. If you're going in US bank or a US economy, then this particular same money can be stored in terms of dollar currency. If you're going to Japan, then this particular money can be saved in Japanese yen currency and so on. So at a particular point of time, the store of value remains the same, but it gets converted from one position to another position. Control on inflation to compare the paper currency that is inflationary. So money acts as a certain medium or a mode to control the inflation perspectives into the economy also. So at every point of time, what we see, either there is an inflation or either there is a deflation in a particular country, wherein inflation is a particular situation wherein the prices of the goods or commodities keeps on increasing day by day, and accordingly the price or the value of the goods starts increasing. So in this way, what happen, we can see and understand that if the particular value of the goods and services keeps on increasing, if there is increase in the value of the money, then it is a concern of inflation. Now in the concern of deflation, the prices of the goods and services keeps on decreasing day by day, and accordingly the situation can be called as a deflation perspective. So totally dependent on the whether the situation is of either inflation or deflation, your value of money is also been determined, and it also can be ascertained. If there is an inflation in the particular economy, then what happens? The domestic currency keeps on depreciating or deflating, and the value of your domestic currency keeps on decreasing. Now, I'll give an example. For example, you are taking a comparison between rupee currency and dollar currency. So if there is an inflation in the Indian economy, what happens? The value of rupee will decrease and the value of dollar will appreciate. So in this way, if as on today, the value of rupee currency is 74.30 per dollar, and if there is an inflation situation, what will be the case? The value of rupee will decrease. So here, whenever I say the value of rupee will decrease, that is the dollar gets strengthened. So if the earlier convertibility of a rupee to dollar was 74, now the convertibility of dollar to rupee will be 75 or 76 or 77. So in this way, if the value of rupee in monetary terms increases, it is a reverse situation. That is, in market situation, the market gets deflated. And in a reverse situation, if there is a deflation situation, then the value of 74 will be either 73 or 72, and accordingly the rupee will get appreciated and the dollar will get depreciated. So it is always having a converse relationship with respect to the rupee and dollar currency that is into existence. Now, the concept of control deficit as a government will try to avoid the outflow of gold. So at every point of time, we need to understand that at a certain situation or a certain phase or a position, always the value of rupee currency is directly associated in terms of the dollar currency or the gold currency. And at every point of time, we have to understand and we have to see that whatever may be the market situation, whatever may be the call in a particular money market or the capital market, your value of particular currency gets associated with the gold reserves that you have. So in terms of the gold reserve that you are having, you can easily identify your reserves that are made available, and accordingly the surplus or deficit into the particular market position or into the government or balance of payments can be identified in in an easy way. It can force the bankers to be more careful about the risk that they can take, and in order to avoid the bankruptcy. So the rupee currency or the valuation or the storage of money can give you a certain understanding or a certain perception about what amount of money is to be saved in a particular position. So whether you're printing a certain position of either the inflation or deflation, or you are looking for the surplus or deficit, it gives you an understanding of risk of holding a particular currency. That is, if you want to hold a particular currency, then at what duration it must be held. If you want to maintain the liquidity of a particular currency, then how the liquidity has to be maintained, and accordingly the bank can manage its expenses and the bank can manage its bankruptcy also. Stabilize the money supply, so it can also simultaneously stabilize the money supply into the particular economy, wherein the bank can hold a certain sum of currency and accordingly the reserves of the currency can be maintained. So as and when the need is been required, the Reserve Bank of India and the commercial banks into the economic perspective, they can increase or decrease the CRR, SLR, repo and reverse repo rate, and accordingly the liquidity into a particular economy can be maintained. So the liquidity is a particular direct concept or a perception wherein you can identify the demand and supply of a particular currency into the general market. Now let's look at the concept or the features of the various cons that have been related with the functions of money into the general economic perspective. Deflationary crash. Now, deflationary crash is a particular concern wherein you can see at this particular point of time, if gold standard was suddenly brought back, then what will be a particular situation? Now, deflationary crash is a particular situation wherein you need to understand if at a certain point of time, the value of currency is getting depreciated at a very frequent stage. Now, if the particular value of currency gets depreciated at a very frequent stage, then what happens? At every point of time, your value of currency keeps on decreasing, and in accordance, what happens? The supply of money into the particular economy keeps on increasing or keeps on decreasing, and it is not stable at any point of time. Now, this particular stability of money is directly linked or directly related with your gold standard that was into existence. That is up to year 1970 or 1980s onwards, until and unless the IMF was not much active. What happened? Every currency was been pegged, every currency was been decided, and the valuation of currency was decided on the basis of gold reserves that a particular country was having. So based on the gold reserve, the gold standard system was into existence, and in order to get a certain foreign currency or the international currency, you need to identify, you need to consume, or you need to keep a reserve of gold standards or the gold bars with the international monetary or the particular nations. They are shifting from one location to another location. Their priorities are being changing. Then accordingly, what happened? The gold standard was abolished, and accordingly, the largely debt-free economy was into existence. So we want to keep, or we want to make every economy debt-free, and for this particular concern, the gold standard was abolished, and the direct link of the valuation of currency was being done with respect to the dollar denomination of particular currency. The conflict between the store of value and the means of exchange. So what was the major conflict between the store of value and means of exchange is the favoritism of the goods and services. So at a certain point of time, in a certain particular country, the value of gold was, or the valuation or the price of the gold was different, and in some countries the price of gold was different. So there was a certain situation wherein no proper mechanism was available at how the prices of the money or the valuation of money can be defined or it can be identified. So making the money that is gold preferable to goods will favor the people tendency to keep its store of value instead of using it. So what people used to do, people used to reserve or keep hold on a certain gold as a certain perspective, and it was not used as a medium of exchange. So if the holding capacity of the gold starts increasing, what happen? It is an absolute value, and it is not in a, if it is not in a circulation, the liquidity cannot be maintained, and accordingly the value is not created for a certain sum of money. So in order to make a value creation for a certain sum of money, what happened? The intrinsic value of the gold was been reserved, it was been abolished, and accordingly the fluctuations of the gold or the prices of the gold was been directly linked with the international market, and the countries started to abolish the gold standard, and they accepted the dollarization currency as a certain perspectives. Now let's look at the further perspective, that is another short note, that is with respect to the IMF. So this is a particular website or a screenshot of website that is given for you with respect to the International Monetary Fund, which here at this particular point of view you can see is it specifically focuses on the macroeconomic policy and the secular stagnation. So at every point of time, the various policies at this particular stage you can see, that is the fiscal policy, the regional updates, the statistical information, and the IMF data mapper. So all the information is available for you, and accordingly the data with respect to the about the IMF, the research perspective, the countries who are the participants or the members, the capacity development, the news, videos, and all, every information is available on the website of IMF that is into existence. Now, the various objectives of IMF. So that is International Monetary Fund that is into existence. The major or the primary objective is to promote the international monetary cooperation. So there should be a proper coordination between all the member countries or all the nations across the globe. And for this particular concern, in order to promote the international monetary cooperation, the IMF was been established, and it's always look after that particular perspective to facilitate the international trade. So in order to facilitate the international trade in terms of the exports, imports, claim settlement, dispute settlement, monetary transactions, goods, evaluation of goods and services, transaction value, and so on. So, so that all the international trade transactions have been conducted very effectively. The prices of the goods and services have been stable. The exchange factor is also quite stable. There are no hurdles in the goods and services. So for this particular concern, the IMF was been established, and accordingly The international trade transactions was been conducted under the purview, origin, and regulation of IMF as a certain body association. Next perspective, that is in order to foster the sustainable economic growth. Now, how this particular sustainable economic growth can be identified or it can be achieved, it can be made possible only when there is proper coordination, proper relationship, and proper cooperation between all the member countries or all the member nations. So, for this particular concern, IMF acts as a reservoir and a certain controlling authority which looks after all the policies, all the valuation of goods and services, and accordingly the prices and the claim settlement and the dispute settlement and the currency transactions have been undertaken and controlled by IMF. So in order to provide the economic growth for all the member countries, the IMF acts as an active member and its contributor, making resources available to members experiencing balance of payment difficulties. So if at any point of time, if any country is facing any economic difficulty or a balance of payment difficulty, then IMF acts as a guide person or a certain resource person who can guide them on a certain basis about how the balance of payment crisis can be established or it can be abolished. Another concern with respect to the either the deficit situation, it has been identified in the balance of payment. So whether it may be related to the current account, capital account, or your official settlement account, IMF gives you certain guidelines and a certain resources also been provided. Now, what are those particular types of resources? The specific resources are related or specifically related with the provision of monetary cooperation. So monetary cooperation is that real concern wherein if you need a certain financial assistance, so IMF can come forward and give you a certain financial assistance in whatever currency that you are desiring or that you are looking for. So if a particular country or a nation, if he is in need of a dollar currency or any type of currency that is into existence, so IMF can come forward and give you or provide the financial assistance in the respective countries. The countries that joined the IMF between 1945 and 1971 agreed to keep their exchange rate secured at the rate that could be adjusted only to a fundamental disequilibrium in the balance of payments, and that is only IMF, the part of the IMF agreement. So the countries which are the members from the year 1945 to 1971, they have agreed for a mutual agreement or the mutual settlement of fundamental disequilibrium. So they have accepted or they have abolished the gold standard, and at this particular point of time, the agreement was been passed, a certain MOU was been signed by all the member countries in order to establish and in order to control the disequilibrium of the economy at the larger scale. So we have to maintain the certain equilibrium status wherein the imports and exports perspectives is in a quite stable stage. The currency that has been required is also supplied or demanded in a frequent way, and all the transactions of the international trade are being conducted in a free and flow of economy. So for this particular concern, IMF has come forward and they are always seeing that all the transactions have been conducted in an effective way. Now, the various quick facts that have been available with respect to the IMF. So, membership, the total membership of the IMF is with respect to the 189 countries. The headquarters, IMF is headquarters at Washington, DC, that is in United States. Approximately staff of IMF is from 2,600 people. The total quotas, that is US dollar 327 billion as of the 313, that is 13/3/2015. That is the total quota, that is the reserve of IMF with respect to the monetary perspective. The executive board, 24 directors, each representing a single country or a group of countries. So at this particular point of time, the total directors of IMF are 24. Additional pledge or the commercial committed resources stands at US dollar 885 billion. The committed amounts under the current lending arrangement as of 13/3/2015 is US dollar 163 billion, of which US dollar 137 billion have not been drawn as of now. So it has been kept as a reserve. So the liquid amount that is made available for lending is 163 billion, of which 137 billion is of a stable position. It is not been used at this particular point of time. The biggest borrower, so largest amount of borrowers as a terms of outstanding, you can see is Portugal, Greece, Ireland, and Ukraine. So these are the various contributors. So these are the various countries which have used or which have been using or applying or taking loan from the IMF very frequently and very effectively. Another perspective, last perspective, that is biggest precautionary loan that has been seen at this stage is the loan. The countries that have taken maximum amount of loan at this particular point of time are Mexico, Poland, Colombia, and Morocco. Wherein, and now in this particular chart or in this particular diagram, you can see the amount of loan lending or the amount of a particular currency or the availability of amount of currency as a reserves is increasing with IMF. So in the year 1945, it was just 45 or 48. in the and simultaneously till the year 2003 to 2015, the amount keeps on increasing day by day. Now, this is the concern of the organization structure of IMF, wherein you can see and understand about how it has been divided or how it has been regulated or controlled. So here at this particular point of time, in this particular slide, you can see that is International Monetary and Financial Committee, the Board of Governors, wherein 24 members are made available, joint IMF World Bank, a joint committee between the IMF and the World Bank that's into existence, a executive board of the board of governors, and it is having an independent evaluation office. So independent evaluation office with respect to the country specific that is into existence. The managing director, that is a deputy managing director, two positions at this place, and below this we have the area departments and the functional area services. Now area departments, we have African department, Asia and Pacific department, European department, offices in Europe, Middle East and the Western Hemisphere department. The functional and the specific department, that is with respect to the various functions, that is finance department, fiscal affairs department, IMF institute, that is joint Africa, joint Vienna and Singapore, then international capital markets department. Another department that is with respect to the legal department, monetary and financial assistance or financial system, policy development, research development and statistical department. With respect to the information liaising, you have external relations department, regional offices for Asia and Pacific, and lastly, the fund official of the United Nations. So a joint membership or a joint department with respect to the IMF and United Nations is also into existence. With respect to the supporting services, we have HR department, secretary department, and technology department. And here in this, under the control or purview of the managing director, you have the investment office, staff retirement plan, office of the budget and the planning, office of the internal audit and inspection, and office of the technical assistance management. So in this way, the different departments are into existence. Functions of IMF. So here again in detail, the description or the explanation with respect to the various functions of IMF has been provided at this particular point of time. First thing, the surveillance, that is with respect to the surveillance, that is gathering or collecting the data and assessing the economic policies of a particular country. So the IMF has always at a certain point of time and at a very frequent stage either on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, they have to be and collected of different country. How the data of the different countries has been collected and assimilated, and how it has been exchanged between the member countries. Monitoring the economic and financial development and level, giving policies to advance to its members. So the way based on the policy that has been decided, based on the policy that has been undertaken, either it may be a monetary policy or fiscal policy, the IMF takes into consideration all those particular factors, and accordingly the suggestions or guidelines have been given by IMF for strengthening or improving their benefits at a certain point of time. Technical assistance, strengthening the human skills and institutional capacity of the country. So proper technical assistance to the different member countries has also been provided with respect to the either the technological skill, with respect to the human skill, with respect to institutional capacity, and so on. So all the skill related factors, all the technical assistance is also been provided by IMF at this particular point of time. Next thing comes with the financial assistance. So financial assistance with respect to the lending to the countries in the form of supporting or the reforms. So various economic. So monetary assistance with respect to whether the guidance has been required in terms of the monetary, that is in terms of the monetary assistance or the financial assistance in terms of the loan or the grant that has been required at every point of time, the IMF can come forward and provide a lending support to the member countries also. So the balance of payment problem can be automatically adjusted, it can be settled, and the financial assistance to the countries can be provided. So if at any point of time, if the money is been required, then you can approach respective member country can approach the IMF, they can take and avail the respective loan facility, and accordingly the member countries can get benefited out of it. Surveillance. Now, with respect to the surveillance, the IMF has a certain functions with respect to the multilateral, that is macroeconomic perspective, and bilateral, that is microeconomic perspective. So here in this particular stage, you can see the multilateral approach that is into existence, that is annual evaluation process, financial experts, economic and financial developments, and the various reasons for the multilateral association. with respect to the bilateral situation, you can see the various microeconomics perspective, that is with respect to the specific country specific is been provided by IMF. So here the economist, that is a member of an IMF, a particular committee of an IMF can visit your respective individual country and they can inspect, they can monitor, and they can check the respective accounts of a particular country or a particular nation. So they can gather and collect the information from the nation's central bank and the officials and conduct the various meetings pertaining to the nation's economy. So the meeting can be conducted and a proper guidance can be provided on bilateral level. So then now what happened the further, the economists then submit a formal report to the executive board of the IMF, and accordingly the recommendations have been provided by IMF to the respective individual country. So the suggestions can be provided at the individual country level also, and at the global level or at a certain group level also. So in this way, the surveillance of IMF is being conducted or obtained. Lending process. Now how the lending process has been required. So for the lending process, in order to avail a certain loan facility from IMF, what a country has to do, any member of the IMF may request for the funding. So major essential requirement for taking a loan from IMF is you need to have a member of IMF. So in order to get a certain loan, you have to be a registered member. You should agree to abide by the transparency standards, and accordingly the codes and policies of the facility must be obtained and it must be identified. So you need to comply with all the lending facilities. There should be a proper transparency into your particular system, and all the codes, ethics and policies of the IMF must be followed by you. Agree to the balance of payment resolution. So at this particular point of time, there is a certain resolution passed by in the IMF that you have to provide, you have to abide with, and you have to conduct all the policies with respect to your balance of payment situation. So a proper disclosure with respect to the balance of payment must be given to the IMF time to time, and the information must be disclosed at a certain point of time, whether your current account, capital account, or official settlement account, whether it is in a position of either the surplus position or a deficit position, whether there is an appreciation or depreciation in the value of currency, whether your imports or exports are increasing or decreasing, what is the stage at this particular point of time. Your balance of payment situation must be disclosed to IMF at a several point of time as and when it is been required. Submit a repayment strategy, including a policy change recommendations in a letter to intend to executive board of the IMF for approval. So you have to properly submit a repayment strategy also. That is, if you are taking a loan from IMF, for example, if you are availing a loan of, for example, 5,000 crore. So this particular amount, how you will repay and in what duration. So what will be the rate of interest? What will the repayment policy? What will be the payment terms and conditions, during what duration, that is within what specific duration, that is either 5 years or 10 years, how you will be repaying this certain sum of money. Now if you are repaying this certain sum of money, in what denomination or in what currency that amount will be repaid, that is it will be paid in your domestic currency or in dollar currency or euro currency or in form of gold standard, what will be the terms of payment. All the lending process, all the repayment strategies are also needed to be clarified and explained to the IMF. Facilities. So here you can see the different facilities that have been provided by IMF in terms of your repayment. So first thing, standby arrangement, that is most lucrative loan, that is per purpose, that is for balance of payment. This particular type of loan is for the short term and the duration is 1 to 2 years, and it can be repaid between the duration of 2 to 4 years. And average surcharge for the rate is at 4%. So in this way, short term or the standby arrangement. Extended fund facility. Extended fund facility is for the long term period, and it is for the 3 years, and it is for the duration of 5 to 7 years. The supplemental reserve facility, here at this stage you can see it is for the economic survey or the economic recovery of a particular country or a nation, and it is again a short term perspective wherein it is for a duration of just 1 year. So here for just for 1 year, and the repayment facility is available within 1 to 1.5 years, and average rate is again at 4%. The compensatory financing facility, that is in terms of drop-in of export earnings, and it is again for a short-term period. It is for a duration of 1 to 2 years, and the repayment facility is provided for 2 to 5 years. Emergency assistance loan, that is a disaster of the post-war or any of the subsidy that is made that is required. It is for a duration of emergency assistance, which is for a disaster recovery, and it is having a long-term duration that is which is directly linked with your base rate. And that is, so if you are availing the loan for the perception of the for the situation of the COVID-19 situation. So for this particular point of time, you can avail for the emergency assistance loan from IMF, and accordingly, the loan can be taken for this particular perspective. And repayment facility technical assistance. Now, what is the various technical assistance that has been provided by IMF? So, in order to educate and empower the financial leaders of a particular country, in order to provide a strong international economy, standards, international economic perspectives, IMF always provides you the technical assistance. 1/5 of the IMF budget goes to the technical assistance. So, the reserves of the IMF for the technical budget is for the portion of 1/5. So, at least 20% of a particular sum of money or a 10% of a certain sum of money is been reserved by IMF for the providing technical assistance to the member countries or the member nations. Missions can be dispatched from headquarters to train central banks, executives, and the officials. So, from the headquarters, that is from Washington, D.C., the respective missions can be established and it can be dispatched to the respective member countries or the member nations. So, if IMF is having 10 regional offices in the different nations or different continents, then accordingly, the decision is been given to the different nations and the amount can be recovered and it can be the training can be provided to the central banks of the respective member countries. So what IMF will do, IMF as a particular member nation, IMF as a central or the governing authority from Washington DC, a particular panel, a particular executive committee will come and they will train the central bank of a particular country. That is, if they are coming to India, they will train the Reserve Bank of India, and accordingly, the training can be provided by IMF to the Reserve Bank. And in this way, the officials of the respective central banking authority are being given the technical assistance. Online courses are also provided for the members to train. So various courses on the IMF website are also made available, wherein they can provide you a proper training about how the various activities with respect to the monetary policy, fiscal policy, economic policy can be taken, and the members can be trained or the employees can be trained accordingly. Various seminars and workshops or the conferences are also being organized, and the technical assistance in those particular position can be provided by the IMF. 7 regional training institutes are located worldwide. So there are various several training institutes which have been available of IMF, and they continuously keeps on training and providing the workshops or the training facilities to the in terms of the technical assistance to the member countries and to the employees also. The various agencies that are made available of IMF are with respect to the Asian Development Bank, the African Regional Bank, and other providing multilateral funding agencies in the different origins or different nations as a certain perspective. From where the IMF gets its money, most.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to interrupt, पर DS का लेक्चर चालू है सर सिलों में.
It comes from the quota subsidies and the money. So every member country is contributing a certain sum of money at this particular point of time, and this particular money goes as a certain part of reserve with respect to the IMF as a certain reserve perspective candidate, and it is been contributed as a certain lending perspective or a loan perspective to the respective country who are in need of those currency. General arrangement to borrow. Another system of general arrangement to borrow has come into establishment from the year 1962, wherein the line of the credit was being set up by the central government or the several governments that are into existence, and the banks also started to contribute to the IMF as a certain perspective. So in this way, the respective banking authorities also came into existence, and they also started to provide or give the financial assistance to member countries accordingly. Quotas and subscriptions. So various quotas are also being created, various subscriptions are also being provided, and the member quota determines its maximum financial commitment. So based on your quota, based on your contribution, the amount is being decided, and accordingly you have to provide your share or position to the IMF. Now, what is the various quota share of respective countries as on 2010 to 2015? So here, the other small scale countries you can see at this particular point of time are up to the level of 61%. USA is at the rate 17%, Japan at the rate 6.5%, Germany at 6.1%, UK at 4.5%, France at the rate 4.5%, China at 4%, Italy at 3.3%, Saudi at the rate 2.9%, Canada at 2.6%, Russia at the rate 2.5%, and India at 2.4%. So in this way, these are the various contributors of IMF as a certain quota perspective. So in this way, the various contributors to the world economic crisis or the International Monetary Fund at this particular position we can see, and the member nations has contributed a certain sum of money for the development and growth of IMF. Valuation of SDR, that is special drawing right. Now how the valuation of SDR, that is SDR is been valued at the US level or at the IMF level. So initially it was valued at the fixed rate, that is one SDR is equal to $1, but after a certain point of time you can see, and we have seen or understood that there was a certain conflict between the SDR, that if a particular country is having less amount of SDR, then how amount can be identified and how a particular benefit or a portion can be availed by a member country with respect to the loan facility that can be taken by IMF. So in this way, the value of SDR is determined by the value of several currencies important to the world's trading and financial system. So it has been provided on a weighted average basis. So if India is keeping a certain reserve in terms of $10,000, then the valuation of SDR of the Indian economy will be 10,000 SDR. So in this way, one SDR is equal to $1 was accepted traditionally, but after a point of time, it has been changed and it has been abolished at a certain point of time. SDR or paper gold. So a country's IMF quota, the maximum amount of financial resources that is obliged to contribute to the fund, determines its allotment of SDR. So whatever the amount that you are contributing in terms of the dollar currency or in terms of the gold currency, the same amount was been converted into the SDR. And if you want to revert or if you want to withdraw a certain sum of money, you have to avail that particular SDR, and accordingly the amount of loan can be made available for you. It cannot be used for the trading purposes. So whatever the amount that you are withdrawing from a SDR perspective, you cannot use this particular SDR amount from for a purpose of trading. So it has to be specifically applied. It has to be specifically used for the business purpose or the economic development purpose or for the development of the particular economic perspective, and not for the general perspective or the trading or business perspective. Only central government can hold SDR and no private firm can have its own ownership right. So the particular ownership right for the SDR was given for only the government agency, that is the central government, and not the private ownership. So a private individual or a private corporation cannot go and avail this SDR facility. So voluntary agreement has needed to be signed between the individual country, and accordingly the SDR was been given. Now the various criticisms of IMF. So there was a various criticism that was being provided in terms of IMF about what is the role and activity that has been conducted by IMF, and accordingly there was certain contributory perspective and the agitations by the member countries also. Conditions of loan. IMF was making the loan conditional on a certain policies. So what are those various policies of giving the loan? That is reducing the government borrowing, that is higher taxes and lower spending. So at a certain point of time, it was been argued that whatever the taxes that have been charged by IMF, it is of a very higher rate, and it is not at a stable rate or at a common platform for all member countries at all or a same rate for all the countries. So there was a certain criticism at this particular point of time that whatever the condition of the loan that was made available, it is having a higher taxation perspective and it is not being charged at a very frequent rate. Higher interest rate to stabilize the currency. So in order to stabilize the currency, it was been claimed, it was been said that IMF is charging the certain interest rate of a particular loan at a very highest rate, and it is causing a burden or a certain situation for member countries to pay a certain additional sum of money as a part of the interest rate. Structural adjustment, there was no proper structural adjustment with respect to the IMF, and whatever the country, whatever the amount that has been demanded or that has been required, the IMF used to give a certain sum of money, and it was not seen with respect to the paper currency, with respect to the paper gold, or with respect to the SDR, and accordingly the proper situation or proper balanced growth was not done by IMF. Example, for example, in the Asian crisis of 1997, many countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand were required by IMF to pursue a tight monetary policy, whereas that is what was that particular policy, that the particular countries should implement a higher interest situation. But at this particular point of time, it was caused a certain situation that, however, this policy caused a minor slowdown, and this, which in turn has caused a certain recession and a mass unemployment situation. So a certain crisis or a certain guideline that have been given by IMF, it is not applicable or ideal to a certain situation. So accordingly, whenever situation changes, you have to look for a certain situation, and accordingly the guidelines can be issued by IMF to the respective countries. Same case in the year 2001, Argentina was also forced in a similar policy of fiscal restraint, and which has led to a financial or the fiscal crisis in the country of Argentina. Exchange rate reform. Now, with respect to the exchange rate reform, when the IMF intervened in the Kenya, now what happened in the year 1990, Kenyan government was also provided a certain suggestion by the IMF, that is the central bank should remove the control on the flow of capital. So with this particular concern, what happened? The Goldenberg scandal was into existence, and if there is no control of the central bank into existence, then what may be a situation? The government may run into losses, and there will not be a proper liquidity into the economic perspective. Again, another crisis or the criticism with respect to the Haiti government was also into existence, and it was with respect to the export and import of rice perspective. So if the farmers are not being provided, if the farmers not the proper subsidy is not given to the farmers, then at this particular point of time, it was being seen that Haiti government was also collapsed, and it also established and the various losses was also incurred by the Haiti government. Another criticism with respect to the IMF policies, which is promoting the corporate welfare, it was with respect to the Guyana government. So Guyana is an Asian-owned timber company called as Barama, received a longing concession that was 1.5 times of the total amount of land, and accordingly, the Barama also received a 5-year tax holiday. So in this way, there was losses with respect to the Barama also, and accordingly, Guyana also has to face a certain terms of losses. IMF policies has hurt the environment. So in terms of the Ivory Coast, the policy that was being framed, the guideline that was being given by the IMF for the Ivory Coast was also of a lacking position, and it has provided a earn hard currency crisis, and accordingly, this unsustainable liquidation was not possible, and 2/3 of the country's forest was been lost at this particular point of time. So it has directly impacted the exports perspective. Neoliberal criticisms with respect to the privatization of the various firms, various monopolies that was into existence, and accordingly, the Brazil and Argentina was into existence, and they have faced a certain term of losses in the year 1960s and onwards. IMF and developing countries. So at this particular situation, you can see the various agreements has been passed by the IMF and in terms of the developing countries. And with respect to the Pakistan, they have seen that IMF has some money that is 12 times more the money was given, whereas the ideal situation was the program was to provide the fund for the policy of only 10 program. But what IMF has done, IMF has provided the policy or the fund for the 12 times the program that was being made or sanctioned. So in this way, there was ill treatment that was being done by IMF to the developing countries or the developed countries also. Problems with the Pakistan implementation. So there was a problems with the Pakistan implementation. So whatever the fund that was been given by IMF for the economic development, that was also not being utilized and obtained properly. And accordingly, it was being seen and observed that the fund that is being provided or given by IMF, it is not being utilized in a proper way or in an efficient way. Same situation what used to happen. IMF, the Pakistan was also getting a benefit or a identification from the various nations. That is, they got the benefit from the US interference also, and they got the benefit from the IMF also. So dual benefit was been given to a particular country. Another benefit that was been given for reconstruction of loan, that is Ecuador got a certain benefit of the $364 million as a part of a loan from the IMF to tackle the earthquake reconstruction. So for the natural calamity in terms of the disaster management of Ecuador also, the financial benefit was being provided by IMF at a larger scale. So disaster which was being faced by the Ecuador, wherein the debt toll was increased in terms of the earthquake, the IMF has also provided the benefit for them. Reconstruction of the loan. So International Monetary Fund has also provided a reconstruction loan perspective for rapid financing instruments. So if at any point of time the rapid financing is been required, or certain benefit or a certain financial assistance is been required, IMF has come forward and provided the financial assistance to those countries also. And lastly, with respect to the Sri Lanka also, the Sri Lanka, that is after the post-economic crisis, the IMF has provided the financial benefit of $2.6 billion, and the loan was been given to Sri Lanka also. So in this way, we come to the conclusion of the today's lecture. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.